Welcome to Talk Tuesday, a series dedicated to empowering youth and families. This series is brought to you by Steps Foundation Incorporated, where advocacy meets education for the betterment of young minds. Each month, we explore meaningful topics designed to inspire growth, spark creativity, and equip our listeners with the tools they need to thrive. I'm Jackie Sartino, your host, program assistant at Steps Foundation Incorporated. This month, we're diving into a powerful theme: New Year, New You. Whether it's setting meaningful goals, developing healthy habits, or embracing change, this is your time to reflect, reset, and plan for the future. Throughout January, we'll discuss practical tips and strategies for personal growth, helping you take the first steps toward becoming the best version of yourself. Let's turn resolutions into results and dream into action. Over to you, Amaya.
Hi, everyone. So I will be kicking off our first question, which is, what makes a habit healthy and how can we identify ones to work on? Anybody?
I think what might make a healthy habit is more so consistency, how much energy you're able to spare to put into it and what you would think the goal would be. So I mean, there are habits out there that you might think is healthy, like pushing yourself super hard, but at the end, what you really need is that time to rest. Um, I think at the end of the day, to figure out how to identify them, you have to really figure out what you need, what hasn't worked for you before, and what you're trying to get at in the future, kind of thing.
I agree with that. I agree. I'll add for the how can we identify like what habits to work on? I think when we sort of like self-reflect and take in like, okay, these are the things that maybe didn't go well this week or this month. I think that's a good way to identify like what we can start putting in place to get better at the things that we're not so good at. So maybe that's like a good place to start if like you don't really know where you can start building healthy habits or what you should focus on.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the new year is a great chance to reflect, especially to kind of think back on last year, like what goals didn't I meet? What goals should I have met? Things like that. Like, I don't know. It's great to be able to look back and kind of really think of everything that might have built you to where you are at that moment and see how you can push yourself further with what you have.
Mhm.
I also think determining your short-term goals and long-term. So, what short-term goals am I working on for like the month, and then 90 days, 6 months, and then your long-term goals would be like 12 months. So that's going to be help you, achieve your short-term goals are going to help you achieve your long-term goals. And then those yearly goals are going to help you achieve your 5 year or 10-year goals. But also making them attainable. And like you said, having a balance in the mix.
I agree. I think you really hit it on the head when you talked about obtainable goals. I think people sometimes, new year, new me, you kind of get those like gigantic, ginormous goals, which are great. But I like to set those realistic goals, or I like to call them the 50-meter targets versus the 500-meter targets. Something as simplistic as I want to drink more water every day, or I want to eat a little healthier today versus I want to lose 20 pounds. I think that's more realistic of like a 6 month to a 12-month goal versus the small goal is kind of the realistic input of what are you going to do day in and day out to help you achieve that big monster goal.
Absolutely. And if in the example of water, if you're somebody who doesn't drink water at all through the day and you're drinking more pop, give yourself an attainable goal of drinking 3 to 4 glasses of water. And then, you know, cheer yourself on and pat yourself on the back. Hey, like I just drank 8 ounces of water. Normally I don't drink any water. Hey, now I've got 2 bottles of water and go me. Now let's get those 3 bottles in. and I feel like as you cheer yourself on and, kudos, 2 snaps, whatever it is, you're going to continue to meet those other markers and achieve those other goals because you're saying, hey, I did it, woohoo, so those smaller goals are going to look more attainable.
I agree with that because I just started drinking water, and we set out we was gonna do for the week. Um, we said 64 ounces. Okay, girl, we tried the 64 ounces. That's a lot of water. To go. So we started out with half the bottle. And then we worked our way on up because that 64 bottles of water, I drank that one day. We was in the bathroom all day, going back and forth. So you have to start small and work your way up. And then don't just say, I'm going to do this on the spur of the moment and think it's going to work. Target it. This week, we're drinking that amount of water. I'll say half. We drank half of water for the week, and we're gonna rejoice over that half a bottle for the week when we wasn't drinking that much water in the beginning.
Yes, absolutely. And also allow yourself to that grace period, right? Like just because you're at less than 64, that's okay. I hey, last week I wasn't drinking any water, but like you said, like it's balance, right? They're attainable goals.
And consistency.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I agree with that. So, okay, I think you guys touched on some good points. Um, how do you guys think the environment we're in affects habit formation?
I would love to start on that actually. I was just talking on a podcast Sunday, I want to say. And a thing I like to kind of speak about, especially because we live in a world of such instant gratification. I think it could come from social media. I think it come from different aspects of life. But don't let someone else's expectation of your life become your reality. And I think that kind of messes up some people's goals and resolutions. Someone always expects you to be a little further than where you are. Be comfortable where you're at. Like, life is a slow grind. Every accomplishment doesn't mean, hey, tomorrow I'm winning a Grammy. Maybe today you just, got some studio time, or today you were just able to write down some of your thoughts and make that poetic, rhythmic thing into an actual song. And I think society as a whole, not everyone in your life, but the environment that we live in, people just expect your life to be on fast forward and you just hit your goals this quick, this quick, this quick. But in actuality, it takes a lot of time and consistency and precision and grind and grit to kind of get to that point, where you're going to hit some of those goals. So I think like for a lot of our younger people, even some of our older people, I can say that sometimes it's like that for me. People will be like, oh, it's good you're doing this, but when are you doing this next? Or what's next for you? What's next for you? And I think a lot of times people put their own expectations of what they think your life should be like to you. And if you allow it, it can start to defeat you. But you got to understand, like the path God got you on is the path that you're supposed to be aligned to. And just stay the course. Don't get worried about someone else's thing. Like that's still your thing. Keep the main thing the main thing.
I absolutely love the don't worry about anybody else because it's true. It starts with comparison, right? We typically get off course because we're comparing our journey to somebody else's, and we have to stay focused on the journey that we have designed for us alone. I love it. Come on, John. Look, where my collection plate? Hold on, I'm gonna turn my camera on in a minute. Show this collection plate.
I think that in a world, especially with social media, we always kind of see the best side of everything, where everything gets posted, you see your friends' stories. It's like they only show you the best parts of their lives, and you feel as though maybe you aren't where you should be, or maybe you should be kind of putting yourself in a different way. I'm not sure how to explain. But especially being around social media a lot, it's not super easy to feel confident in your goals or where you're at. But as long as you keep pushing, you know that your plan is where you're supposed to be at. Um, yeah, instant gratification is a really good point to bring up. I think that was amazing.
I agree. I like what she said about, excuse me, allowing like other people or having other people come in telling you like where you should be. I think that makes me think about being mindful of like who we share our goals with. People that aren't gonna just tell us like, okay, well just don't you have to do anything, just be comfortable where you are. And like not doing that, but also people that will push us to do more. I think there's a balance there. People that can be encouraging and uplifting without making you feel bad when you're not, farther along.
I agree, and I love the fact that you young ladies kind of agree with some of the things I was saying, because I think it's very important to have your own story. And I think when it comes to a book, people only want to read the outside covers, right? The beginning looks pretty, the end kind of gives you a quick synopsis of what happened, but the chapters are what makes it most beautiful. And some of my ugliest chapters have made me the person I am today. And I think people can skim past your book, but don't you ever forget your story, because you know that those chapters made that book. And I think social media doesn't necessarily make people think that they don't have the chapters, but people kind of pick and choose what chapters they want to see, right? Because the cover of the book is what's shiny and beautiful and pretty. But everyone is a human being, and we all have grief and setbacks and insecurities. And I think sometimes that even though people have those, they don't shine as bright as the beautiful picture and the beautiful cover. So as long as you know your story, I'll tell anyone any day, the ugly chapters is what I walk around with, not so much as a beautiful cover that people may see.
I like that,
Yes.
Jocelyn. That sounds great. Those ugly chapters is what makes us who we are.
I like that too. I think that's like a good reminder for us not to forget about or to try to, overlook the things that we've gone through. I think that also ties into the next question. How important is self-compassion in the process of building habits? When we're hitting those rough chapters, like how do we still like hold ourselves and not be too hard on ourselves when things aren't going as planned?
I think it's so easy to show I shouldn't say easy, but I think it's um a little bit easier to show compassion to others than it is sometimes to show compassion to ourselves, because sometimes as humans we can become critical of ourselves. You know what I mean? Like we can look in the mirror and like nitpick this. I'm too this, I'm too this, I need to fix this, I need to fix that. But then you look at your girlfriend or the people that you hang with and you're like, oh my God, you're beautiful, you're doing great, look how far you've come. But why aren't we doing that to ourselves? Why aren't we showing ourselves that same grace and that same compassion? Looking at ourselves in the mirror and be like, girl, look how far you've come. Look at what you've done in just the last 24 hours. You got up. You are, you could be still in bed grieving if you're going through grief, but you got up, you showed up, you went to the gym, you did your homework, whatever the case may be. And give yourself a pat on the back, high five yourself in the mirror, fist pump, whatever the case may be. And I think in today's society, going back to like social media, we're looking at someone else's story and you only know a 24-hour synopsis. You don't know that whole journey because you haven't walked a mile in their shoes. But if we have a little more compassion for ourselves, I think, it'd be a game changer.
I think she hit on a lot of great things right there to me, Ms. Jackie, because you have to learn to give yourself grace. I always tell anytime I'm speaking to an audience, there are 1,000 people out there that don't like you, who don't believe in you. Don't be one of them. right? Because every day you kind of make the choice. Are you going to believe in yourself? Because you have to be that person that believes in you no matter what it is prior to anyone else. Because again, kind of like how we touched on before, and I don't even think it's purposely, a lot of people's issues with you are their own issues. They actually don't have anything else to do with you. It's just some of their insecurities or some of the things that they've gone through life that they kind of project on you. So like you have to walk around and give yourself grace. And for me, I for some of the newer viewers, I used to be OG, but when I originally was coming on to speak with Miss Abby and her classes, I was a military personnel. Like I'm a retired veteran now, but I was in the military. And a lot of times for me, I always just dig deep and remember that it could be worse because it has been worse. So like if I work in the sports industry now, if something happens at a game, I'm actually okay with it because no one is, it's not war. I'm not in Afghanistan. It's not life or death. So I think I look at life differently because of some of the experiences I've been through. So I think that kind of helps me get through tough times because I have seen and experienced people who are in much worse conditions than somebody who doesn't get, a $15 bottle of sparkling water at a basketball game. You'll be amazed what people complain about. But when you give yourself grace, kind of look back at some of the moments that you went through, some of your toughest times, you got out of it and you're good. So that should really give you the confidence that you can continue to do that.
I feel as though in the process of trying to reach our goals, it can be really easy to get lost in our frustration, especially if our progress is kind of plateauing or if it's not going at a pace that we expected. Self-compassion is really important in remembering who we are, like you were talking about, but also in accepting that maybe it's not going the way that we planned, but we're still pushing with everything we have. We really just have to be true to ourselves and trust in ourselves because at the end of the day, we're the ones who can reach our goals, not anybody else. We have to treat ourselves like we're important because we are.
I agree with that. I like what you said, Jocelyn. I think that could be like a helpful thing for everyone to do because we've all been at different places in our lives and some of us track that in different ways, like whether we journal or like we can look back at old photographs and be like, man, this is where I was, like 5 years ago. And I was kind of in a bad place. And like, look how far I've come, even though now I'm faced with something different. Like, I know that it can change and like get better. So I think that's a way to maybe ground ourselves a little bit and not get lost in like, oh man, this didn't go the way I wanted. So, mhm. We're going to pivot a little bit to the next question, which is what advice would you give to someone who feels unmotivated to start setting their goals?
I was actually talking about this a little bit earlier too with my sister. I was telling her, well, okay, she was telling me, oh, I want to start eating healthier. I want to do this. I want to do that. But it's just, I keep messing up and I feel like it's so hard to have a clean slate. And I was like, girl, listen, the one who chooses a clean slate is you. Even if you mess up in your goal reaching or whatever, one day you wake up the next day and you start again and you keep trying. You just keep pushing and pushing, and you're the one who gets to choose when you start. It can be scary and it can be super overwhelming, especially if you're throwing yourself into kind of a bigger goal, you know. But the day you start is the day it all begins. And from there, it's like your progress is never lost, even if you backtrack a little bit. You still made it to where you were.
For me, I think you should focus on why you're doing it. Like, I think it's so many times we all make goals to just kind of have goals. People be like, New Year, new me, New Year, new me. But really, it's New Year, same them. You have to have a actual purpose, I think, behind that goal. And like for me, Amaya kind of hit it on the head. I like to journal. I don't know if that's everything. Everybody likes to do that. But normally in the morning, like I live a pretty, I won't say chaotic, but I live a pretty busy life. So I like to, in the morning, wake up and write down 3 things that I'm grateful for and my intentions for the day before I ever start the day. Because I think we all get so wrapped up in everybody else's stuff that it can come off ungrateful. And I never want God to think that I take for granted any of the blessings that have been brought my way. So I always do that first thing. But what I normally do that first month of the year, I go back and read every morning what I wrote down for my goals for 2025, because I don't want to forget, because I have to have a purpose behind the intention of why I set the goal. Now, if I just write it down and I leave it there, I don't even remember, right? Because you wrote it down probably on the 30th or the 31st and kind of stuck away from it. But I normally go back and read it every morning and say, this is what I wanted to do. What am I going to do today to help me to achieve one of these goals, right? Because you can't necessarily try to conquer Rome in one day, so to say. Like, you kind of have to break it down into little pieces. So that's why I like to go back and look at it. And then for me personally, I fast for the first 30 days of the month. I fast away from at least 1 or 2 things that I normally would do every day or do in excess of, just to kind of remind myself of what my goal is. And I think if you have a purpose behind the intention, you can do anything in this world that you choose to do.
I like what you said that, you give God the glory and you're thankful for him and you write down those 3 gratitudes. I actually do something very similar and I write down, I journal what I'm grateful for. And it could be anything from 3 things to 10 things, whether it's I'm grateful for breath in my lungs. I'm grateful for waking up today. Um, just because, I mean, not everyone is waking up, tomorrow morning. So depending on the time I'm allowed, it could be, 2 minutes journaling gratitude and then 2 minutes of affirmations and, I am statements. And it really sets the tone. And I feel like when that tone is set for gratitude and, like you said, intention, it can shift your mindset from like, I'm tired or a negative mindset to positive, ambitious, motivated. And then you're like, wow, I'm ready to conquer the day. And so that is something that I would tell somebody who doesn't know where to start is start with be intentional, write that gratitude down. And then how do you feel after writing your gratitudes and your intentions down for the day? What mood does it set? And where do you want to go from here? Because it can really shift your mindset.
Yeah, I really like that, Jackie. That actually was a separate question. How can someone choose which habit to focus on first? And I think like starting with a habit that's gonna I don't know, start your day off is like a really good place to start because like, how you start your day is kind of like indicative of how the whole day is gonna go. And if you're just waking up and like rushing, going from place to place, like, that just, I don't know, I think it throws everything off. So stopping and like doing the journaling thing can be really helpful.
You guys are giving me some great ideas. I should start.
Yeah, I'm saying it, but I need to do it too. I'm inspired because that's not what I'm doing right now. So I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
no, I mean, I get up, I run out the door. I don't even think about my day until I'm like there, you know? I
Yeah.
think it would be so great to just kind of slow down and really think about what I want the day, what I choose to do, and who I choose to be. I think that's so lovely. Thank you for sharing the idea.
You're welcome. I mean, it's so easy to say, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll start next week, or I'll start next month. So I feel like when you start with those gratitudes and setting those intentions, it sets the mind frame. Like I said, it sets your mind frame in that positive outlook, that positive tone. And then you look at that, and I feel almost like when I'm looking at that, I feel almost like very ambitious, very motivated. I'm like, oh, wow, I did this and it's only this time in the day. Look how much more of the day I have yet to conquer.
And I kind of look at it just to piggyback. It helps you to stay on track. Like, it helps you to stay focused on yourself. Like I wake up pretty early just because like no one else is awake and I need that time to myself. Like how you're saying you run out the door and then like boom, you don't even think about your day until the day starts. And I think back when I was in command, we used to have to read a book called like I think it's the 5 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. And it kind of like explains how you pick up so many other people's problems within 5 minutes. So you don't look at it like that. But if you go into a situation kind of like unfazed or unready, and like boom, it's like, hey, I got this going on, or hey, this happened to me today, or where is your test? Where's your paper? Where's your homework? And you're like, whoa, 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 like I'm not even awake to deal with the day. So like I kind of like to have an hour, maybe 2 hours, because I even like to work out earlier in the mornings. Because I feel like if I do it in the afternoon, I'm tired from work. I'm going to give a half workout, or I'm going to get like 50 calls and I'm not even going to really, be engaged in it. But most people don't wake up to like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. So you have a good amount of time to yourself before your day gets busy. And I think that kind of helps you align with yourself and stay connected to your goals as well as your individuality.
I love that. Okay, this is gonna bleed into the next question, because I feel like you guys already started. So, what are some unique or unconventional healthy habits people should try? Because we've mentioned gratitude journaling. I think Jocelyn, you mentioned fasting, kind of slip that in there, and then the waking up early to work out.
Well, I personally think any form of exercise, you don't necessarily have to be like early in the morning, or you don't have to be like extensive workout. It doesn't have to be like HIIT or running 6 miles. Sometimes like I just like the peace of being with myself. So especially like for a person that's maybe just starting their wellness journey, a walk is a good way to kind of get started with that. Um, so I think exercise actually is not therapy, but I think it's therapeutic. And I also feel like, to quote the great Deion Sanders, you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good, right? You play good, they pay good. So I think appearance does matter. It's not the most important thing in the world. But if you're confident in how you look or confident in how you feel, you're going to, show that to others when they're talking to you, when they're speaking with you. So I think exercise just kind of opens the door for so much. And I think when I was talking to some of the ladies at UCF, health is wealth. And I think we don't really value that as much until we start to get older. I can actually say that probably for myself. I didn't really look at it as much until I started to get a little older in age. You can't meet your goals. You can't become rich. You can't live a happy life if you're sick. So if you don't have a type of wellness or health about yourself, you're not going to enjoy any of these goals that you're setting. So I always say like wellness and health has to be on top of people's priority list.
I don't know if this is unconventional or unique, but to make sure I'm kind of hitting my goals, I feel like I need some kind of motivation. Um, I'm used to instant gratification as well, but I've learned a rewarding system from some of my psychology classes, kind of like a dog a little bit. You know how you give a dog a treat? So throughout the week, I have my goals. I have them planned out. Like let's say I want to get this number of workouts in, I want to get all my assignments done, and I want to, I don't know, vacuum. If I hit those 3 things, then at the end of the week, I'll like allow myself something that I want, but I wouldn't do unless I worked for it. So usually that's like ordering food. That's just me though. Or maybe it can be like, oh, or maybe you can go, I don't know, pick up that new book that you've been wanting to read, but you haven't had the time, or maybe getting yourself like a little sweet treat, you know? It's just what I gotta do, but it works pretty well. You know, give a dog a treat, it'll do the trick.
I like that. I like that a lot. And it's good. Kids can do that too. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you set your goals or you achieve this, you get, I don't know, like extra playground time. You know what I mean? Like whatever. You get a night out with mom or whatever a movie date, whatever the case may be. but those small attainable goals become like achievable in the long run and can also help motivate you and stay consistent.
Another one I have for studying, actually. So let's say I have like this giant paper that I don't want to write, or I have a bunch of papers that I don't want to read. For every like little task I get done, like read one page, I'll have a couple of candies next to me. So I'll have like one chocolate, finish the page, have a chocolate. You get to the next page, you read it all the way through, take another one. It's fun. I don't know, a way to keep the studying going, but definitely making those goals achievable, little baby steps at a time, they add up.
I can agree with that. Definitely. I think Jackie, I heard you mention that that's a good thing or a good way to get kids involved in like their goal setting. Um, how do you guys think parents can encourage healthy habits in their children without being overbearing about it?
I think doing it along with them, making it fun, not if a kid is like, okay, mom, I want to try and drink more water, which I've never really heard a kid say that. But as a family, as a consensus, doing it together and maybe having like a goal chart. Okay, like we're going to increase our water intake by 4 glasses. Maybe having some stickers. So you're seeing those goals that they're being achieved and that as a family that you're doing it together. And okay, by the end of the week, if we all achieve our water goal, this is what we're going to do as a family. And then encourage one another. I think encouragement is a big, big thing. Something like, hey, Dad, high five, you achieved your water goal today. And it can mean a lot to a kid or a teenager who might be struggling to get in those health goals. Or even if it's just like eating an extra, fruit or vegetable and someone doesn't like, vegetables, that extra vegetable, like I said, consistency and those affirmations. I think affirmations are big too. And I feel like with people in general, you claim I am strong, I am healthy. It starts to sink in and you start believing in it rather than the negative mindset. You believe the positive and it switches. So I think affirmations could be very helpful as well.
I think for me, like I love my son Legend. I know Abby's over there probably. She tries to spoil him every chance she gets. But with my with my son, I normally try to practice normalcy, and then I also practice inclusion with him. So I'm a vegan. My son is not vegan. People always ask me, does he eat the same way? But he does eat some of the same foods. And that's why I go into that normalcy. So in our house, there's a lot of fruits, there's a lot of vegetables. I drink pressed juices, I drink green juices. He doesn't like everything I like, but some of it, any parent out there, anyone that's had, babysit or have like, small children, they will eat what you eat. They only want it because they see that you have it, basically. So he will eat some of the foods that I eat, and he's probably being healthy just because he doesn't know, but he's having some healthier choices because that's normal in our household. And he also goes to the gym with me. So the gym I have, they have, childcare. So he goes in and plays, but he knows that I work out a pretty decent amount. So that is a normal habit to him. And I do push-ups. I used to do it more when I was in the service, but he likes to do push-ups. He will do push-ups with me. So certain things children just pick up because they see it. Now, when I speak of inclusion, he will tell you what he likes and what he doesn't like. So that's why he's not vegan. He's like, I don't want to eat broccoli on my pizza. I'm like, well, okay, you don't have to eat broccoli on your pizza, buddy. You can have cheese or you can have pepperoni. Because I always felt like with anyone, not just children, but if anything feels like a punishment, you're not going to want to do it. So if I make it and force him to be, oh, you have to drink this amount of water, or you can't have this, or you can't have that. I mean, of course, you still want to be a disciplinarian to children, but you don't want to be so overbearing that now they have the fear and the stigma that they can't make their own choices with food or anything, in life like that. So I always let legend have a voice. And, I just kind of practice what I preach. I think Jackie hit on that a lot. Children are going to emulate what they see, and you just want to be a positive role model for all children, but especially mine, right?
I really love how you talked about fitness. My nieces and nephews know that I work out, and I have a couple nieces and nephews back home. And when I just came from visiting there, and they're like, "Aunt Jackie, did you go to the gym? What gym did you go to? What did you do?" And I show them a couple of things, and they're like, "Oh, we want to go to the gym with you." So they know that Aunt Jackie works out. It's just my thing. No matter where I go, what city I'm in, and they know that. They know that's my thing. And hiking is also a thing of mine. But I try to include them whenever I'm around. Do you want to come to the gym with Aunt Jackie? Do you want to go hiking with Aunt Jackie? And over the years, because they've seen that I've done that, they now want to be a part of that. And I've said, like, it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to be like out of breath, but this is how it's going to benefit you. Even like my one nephew, he has asthma, and we were hiking and he was like struggling with asthma. And I was like, okay, in through your nose, out through your mouth. You can do this. Tell yourself you can do this. And if you want to take a break, you can ask, like, can we take a break? And sure enough, he didn't have his inhaler, in through his nose, out through his mouth. And he looked at me, he's like, Aunt Jackie, I got it. Aunt Jackie, I got it. And it's just that switching that mindset from I can't do this to I can do this.
I feel like it's so motivating to see somebody close to you hitting those goals as well, because it makes you think, oh, maybe that I can do it too. Like if you can, maybe we can do it together. Um, I think modeling is super important for parents, even for like teachers or caregivers or anything like that, like modeling those exercise habits or eating healthy foods, definitely very effective. I'm a teacher, and every time I bring apples, all the kids are like, "Oh, you have an apple? I want an apple." And then by the end of the week, all of them had little cut up apples because they asked mom for it. We were eating apples together. It was cute.
I love that. You guys give such good answers. Um, I think anytime we kind of spark curiosity in kids, like they're automatically going to be glued to the thing that we're doing or the thing that they're interested in. So that's amazing. Um, I had another thing. I said so much. I'm trying to like recall. I can't remember. Mm. Oh, I was gonna say creativity. I feel like creativity is a really good way to like help kids build healthy habits. So I think somebody mentioned juicing, and it made me think about one of you said something about vegetables. And I think when you're trying to get a kid to like eat more vegetables, maybe make it fun. Like, okay, why don't we make this into a smoothie? And then you tell me like what you do want in it. And then by the time they like drink the smoothie, they probably won't even be able to taste the vegetables, you know? So I think when they have a hand in like creating the thing that you're wanting them to do or that they want to do, it makes them more motivated to like try it as well.
Even just in like I was saying earlier, getting families involved, getting parents involved. If you're trying to, do things as a family, you can make just as an example, like protein muffins or protein pancakes. So you're still, eating breakfast, and now it becomes something you're still having breakfast or like a dessert. You're upping that protein. So now it's healthier rather than all those sweets and net carbs. And you can get the kids involved too and make it a family activity.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Do we have time for another question, do you think? Yeah, okay. So this will be the last one. How can people reframe bad habits to replace them with healthier ones?
I think a great way to take a look at that is kind of think about that long-term outcome versus that short term. You have, let's say I don't know, you like drinking soda a lot, right? And you want to start drinking water more. Obviously soda tastes a lot better and water's kind of boring. That's the truth. I hate to break it to you, but it's the truth. However, like me, like I have weak enamel, so I'm really prone to cavities. It's kind of easy to put yourself in a position where you might like get more problems down the road unless you kind of start making that change now. So maybe it's not like, oh, I have to start drinking water because I have to, but think about like, oh, how could this benefit me? And how can I use this to build myself stronger, better kind of thing.
And if I can add on to that, if you're somebody who's drinking, 5, 6 sodas a day, okay, I'm going to start with small attainable goals and I'm going to go down to 2 and slowly then go down to 1. So you know, you're still getting that soda in, but you're just switching it up and then maybe go down to just 0, whatever the case may be. But the small attainable goes to long-term achievable goals as well.
I agree. And then I think your body starts to tell you certain stuff too. Like I'm a person, well, I'm trying to be better with it. A person that will just kind of work, 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 work. And like I can kind of tell when I'm getting sluggish or like my gas tank is on fumes because you can't do everything. I think my body is always telling me when it's time to let go of a bad habit. That's what happens sometimes. So listen to your body.
I agree with that. I think too, like kind of taking stock of like how you feel once you're not doing the bad habit is also very like helpful. Because if it's like, okay, I was drinking 6 sodas a day and I've gone down to 2 or I've stopped and I'm just drinking water, it's like, well, how are you feeling every day when you wake up and like throughout your day? Like, do you have more energy? Do you, things like that I think can help you keep the, you know, motivation to change those habits. All right. Anybody else? Are we doing another question? Wrapping up? I don't know. Okay. We're gonna keep going. Um, let's see. Okay. Can you share an example of a small habit that leads to significant long-term change? Let me give y'all a minute.
I think I kind of spoke on wellness a lot. I used to be a wellness coach. I know I got like a bunch of stuff going on all the time. You see why I'm so tired and not getting enough sleep. But I honestly think just caring more about your health actually does change your entire life because now you value your life. You value what you're putting in your body. You value what's coming out of your body. You value how you look at your body. You're valuing how you feel about your body. So I feel like wellness really is like one of those things that just kind of changes the complexity of your life because now you feel like you can live to do something else or like how I think Miss Jackie gave the example of her nephew. He had that stigma that he couldn't do a lot because he had asthma, but look at him proving himself differently. So I think sometimes you have these limitations on yourself. Once you start to be able to physically do things, then mentally you're going to follow it as well. So that's my mindset. Health as well.
That's definitely true. I was one of those people. I'm still one of those people, but in the new year I was like, I'm going to the gym. And I started it and I actually really liked it. I didn't go as many days as I wanted to last week, but we're still in it. We're gonna go this week. But I just felt like, I don't know, better about myself when I finished. I was like, wow, this is great. I can't believe my body can do all that. So I don't know. I feel like it's a small thing, but then it motivated me to cook more and like, okay, I need to have food prepared in advance because I'm like, I don't know, burning more calories and I'm hungrier now. So I feel like it started to like slowly change other things in my life. Um, so I think that's a good example of like a small habit, long-term change. I just read Jackie's comment. Right. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. This is an interesting one because I don't think I know what it is, but maybe some of you guys do. So the question is, can you explain how habit stacking works and why it's effective? Do you guys know what habit stacking is? Anyone heard this term before? Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm too familiar with it, actually.
Okay.
Sorry, but I would like
No,
to
that's
know.
okay. I don't know either. I was just curious. Somebody could teach me something. I'm Googling it.
I
Why not?
I think it might bounce back to what Jocelyn was saying about how wellness is kind of like a whole ordeal in the sense like you
Mhm.
start going to the gym, but then you start treating yourself a little bit different in the sense like, oh, you feel more confident, you nourish yourself more, you care about what you're eating, how you're sleeping, things like that. I think a shift into health starts with one thing, but it influences you to do a lot more. Like you said too, you were meal prepping too. It's like I didn't start meal prepping until after I went to the gym because I realized like, oh my God, like I gotta get with this. Like I don't have enough time in the day to do all this, but I'm gonna make it work because I'm motivated and I'm excited to get it done. It's like when you start seeing a positive outcome from all the other from that one goal that you're accomplishing, you're like, wow, like I can keep doing this. And you realize that you have the power to make that change. Once you start reaping those benefits, it's a lot easier to pick up different habits that keep supporting it. You know what I mean?
That's exactly it. So, habit stacking is like, and I didn't hear the whole thing that you said, but if you went to the dentist and you got a long lecture about how you need to floss more, but since you are likely already brushing your teeth twice a day, you can simply stack the new habit of flossing on top of your existing habit of brushing your teeth. That's habit stacking. So you already have a habit of consistently brushing your teeth. Now you're stacking a new habit on top of it.
Makes sense. I think you guys are right. That seemed to match the Google definition. Um, okay. And then we'll just keep them coming because we're still here. So, how does sleep or diet affect the ability to build and maintain habits?
If I don't sleep enough,
Definitely.
I'm not
Oh,
doing
sorry.
anything. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. I was going to say I'm probably the worst person to answer.
There's just not enough hours in the day, it's hard. Especially when you're so busy, you're telling them something you do. I'm like, wow, she does it. Oh, um, I feel like sleep is like the basic foundation of everything. That affects how fast your brain moves in the morning, during the day, and at night, especially if you have a bunch of different things planned. If you're not sleeping enough, you're not going to retain what you're learning. It's going to be that much harder to get home and apply it, if you're doing homework or if you're having to take care of your family. Um, it's when our body, renews itself. It's when we heal, like if we like I don't know, are sore from the gym or whatever. It is so important. And I didn't realize that until I started sleeping enough. And I was like, wow, this energy change is crazy. Like, I didn't know I needed this, but very important to keep it pushing.
I think for me is definitely something I'm working on more and more cognizant of spending time resting. I used to only get 4 hours of sleep a night. Now I'm very proud in the month of January, I've been getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night. I think it can start to wear on your body, so you just kind of have to pay attention to it. Like, because rest is important. I think for me, when I was a young, maybe I was like 24 in the military, and one of the sergeant majors asked me to stay in Afghanistan for an additional 6 months. And I had already been there 15 months. And I was like, no, I won't stay here 6 days, let alone 6 months. And I told him I wasn't myself. I was tired, I was exhausted, I missed my mother because I was young then. And he told me that 50% of me was better than 100% of anyone else. And I took that comment and ran with it. So I have been living most of my life on 50%, because in my mind, I'm like 50% of me is better than 100% of someone else. But that goes back to kind of what I said in the beginning. Don't let someone else's perception of you become your reality. So now I'm just kind of winding that down. And I'm like, whenever I feel like I've done too much, I know it's time for me to take a break. Like I'll tell people like, no, I'm cool on going out, or I'm not going out of town this month. I just need some time for myself. Like I know when I need to get some rest.
I think that was a great point to add. Sleep is really important, like honestly. It really is. You don't realize until you start like actually sleeping, you're like, wow. Well, I think that wraps up just about all the time we have for today. So thank you guys for joining us this month as we embrace the theme of the new year, new you. You know, starting fresh isn't just about making resolutions, it's about creating those really meaningful goals, you know, building those healthy habits and embracing that growth. Whether you're planning ahead for the new year, reflecting on your journey, or even stepping into new opportunities, these steps will help you build a life full of progress. You know, we got to make this year a one to remember. So, before we go, don't forget to check out our exciting events at Steps Foundation this month. We're so excited to see what's happening at Steps Foundation. We're focusing on career readiness, equipping students with skills and competence they need to excel in their future professions. And if you're a current or incoming high school student, we have some incredible news. Okay. Our youth program ambassador applications for the 2025 to 2026 are open. This program is all about leadership, advocacy, and making an impact. As an ambassador, you'll have the chance to empower, inspire, and even lead within your community. So if you want to learn more, check out our upcoming information session dates on our social media or website. Applications are now open through April 15th, so don't wait. Start your journey today. You can find all the details by visiting www.stepsfoundation.org or following us on social media at Steps Foundation Inc. Incorporated, but Inc for short. So thank you for spending the time with us as we explored ways to create a new year, and every day is a chance to start fresh. We can't wait to see how you take what you've learned and turn it into action. So stay connected with us by visiting our website or following us on social media, again at Steps Foundation Inc. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you on next Talk Tuesday. Bye! Thank you, everybody.